Breakfast Club. Do you want to kind of give a rundown of what happened?
Yeah, man, because I was watching this and I knew this was coming from for a minute. So when it blew up in front of everybody this week, I was just like, y'all haven't been watching. Um, so everybody knows that Angela Yee sound like
Left.
Webby. Angela Yee left the Breakfast Club. Well, that was the end of 2022. So all of last year, they basically did. No, that was 2021. Well, for a whole year, they were having different hosts come in and basically try out to fill in the spot. Um,
Host.
host.
You heard what I heard too.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Oh, like, really, Jalen? Jesus.
Spike
Got
was
it.
there. Oh.
Yeah, Spiker definitely said hoes.
Oh, and so while that was going on, Lauren did a lot, but Jess was the standout, obviously, because she's Jess Hilarious and people know who she is. And so she her chair. So at the start of last year, Jess was basically there, but then she ended up getting pregnant and went on maternity leave. While she was gone, she chose for Lauren to step into the spot for her.
Now, Lauren auditioned for it?
She did.
Okay.
She did. Um, it's pretty much an open audition. They would have different people come
Okay.
all over.
And she transitioned to the EP or producer
She
role?
transitioned to
Okay.
to
All right,
the
cool.
producer role. And so when Jess came back, there was this awkward thing of Jess started back doing the segment, but then there was a court case going on. I can't remember. I think it was Diddy. The Diddy stuff was going on. And so she was leaning on Lauren because Lauren has more of a journalistic background. She works for TMZ and did all these things. But then in the last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks maybe, it turned into, instead of it being being titled Just with the Mess, it turned into the latest with Lauren. And it caught me by surprise too, but nothing was said. And so earlier this week, when Jess was on live going crazy about the change, I was like, I kind of saw this coming from a long time ago. And it turned into a big thing where they had the discussion on the Breakfast Club after she went live, and people are giving their opinions on it. Now, the reason why I said I knew this coming from a long time ago is because Jess isn't the greatest reader when it comes
I've noticed that.
to the news. She's more of commentary than she is giving information. She just
Okay.
wants to commentate on what's going on. And so people in the comments were definitely saying like she's not giving the information that needs to be said right now. And they were like Lauren actually articulates and gives the information that people needs to hear before the commentary. I saw that like for the last 2 years and people were rooting for Lauren to be in that position. To me, Jess was picked because she gives more of the social aspect. To have clips, to be funny, it's gonna go more viral, and it fits the demographic of the Shade Room. And Charlamagne is trying to be more PC. He's not that same Charlamagne. I see your face. He's not the same Charlamagne from 10 years ago. He's still Charlamagne now. He says some off the wall shit, but he ain't going the extra mile like where it goes viral. Like he's not Joe Budden in academics.
Okay.
Like so he needs that person that's more willing to say what comes to their mind. Like and so that's why they picked Jess to fill that void so they can have the virality. But yeah, I saw this coming from a mile away. This was just it was ridiculous. It all made sense, but to me, hearing the conversation is just bad leadership.
Yep. That's where it was with me too.
To have such a change in the name, because I didn't know that part.
But she also said she told them to change the name.
Because she was doing more of the topics.
Jess Hilarious said she told them, like, take my name off this. This isn't me. This is not my show anymore.
Okay.
Because after last night, after y'all said y'all want to talk about this, I ended up watching, like, fucking 6 videos on this dumb shit. So
Yeah, I watched like all the ones that they were putting in Dead in Sports throughout the week. That's how I knew it was a thing, of course, and then it was everywhere or whatever. Do you still watch the Breakfast Club?
Hell no.
Okay.
I haven't watched The Breakfast Club since he left. And actually, I stopped watching before she left because it was just whack. Because, you know, the only one on there whose opinion I actually value was Angela Yee's. And anytime she started talking, Charlamagne's fucking goofy, loudmouth ass would start talking over her. And he never has anything I want to hear. Ever. He just says dumb shit. And it used to be funny a long time ago.
That's the point. That's what I'm.
But his shtick is gone for me. So it's
that's
just like
what I'm saying. He's trying to. He wants to be late night TV. So
Yeah,
he's
he's
trying
trying
to
to-
transition.
I get what
to
you're
that.
saying. I get
And
what you're
that's
saying.
why he's not doing the over the top
I got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Breakfast Club Envy is just like a likable guy. You know, I have nothing I could say bad about Envy because he doesn't really try to ruffle feathers or piss anybody off. But the show itself, once they brought Jess Hilarious on, I was really like, oh, I'm good.
Were you
'Cause I've
familiar
never-
with her?
I only got familiar with her because I definitely saw like a couple of her stand-up comedy skits or whatever. But then I saw all of that shit where she was saying how, you know, how come trans people have advocates but nobody's speaking up for real women and shit like that. And I was just like, all right, get this fucking dumb shit the fuck out of here.
She's still on that shit.
Yeah.
They definitely
That's
say stuff,
stupid.
and every time they talk about trans something on the show, she always comments, and I'm like,
It's yeah.
y'all just weird, bro.
But that's stupid.
If of course it's stupid, but
But-
it's just
okay, I'm
like,
sorry.
but that's how, you know, that's how the system wants you to act. They want you to fight amongst yourselves or amongst ourselves instead of realizing, oh no, y'all are the problem. It's easier for Jess to attack trans folks than to be like, well, wait a minute, how come there's a problem to begin with? Like, why are we not banding together as opposed to being like, well, how come nobody's sticking up for real women? It's like, bro, trans people are real women.
It's even
so
worse because men have accused her of being a trans woman.
That's probably why it makes it so bad for her.
Oh.
So she wants to be more transphobic because she's getting transphobia thrown at her. So it's like a, you know, traumatize people, traumatize other people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But like the whole thing, I was just like, I'm good on the Breakfast Club. But watching all of this drama, I was like, I hate that y'all got me fucking siding with Jess Hilarious because I'm like, I was Jess Hilarious a couple weeks ago in that meeting. Whereas like, even if it's not intentional, when something changes and you think that you're a part of the show and they don't inform you, I see why she was bothered. The part that sucks is, and she did admit this later, but she attacked the wrong person.
Yeah.
She attacked, what's her name?
Lauren.
Lauren. She attacked Lauren instead of going to the bosses and being like, what the fuck is any of this?
Yep.
You know, but she said she did finally realize that it had nothing to do with Lauren. It was because the bosses decided that really Jess wasn't doing a great job.
Didn't they? But didn't? Okay, so I guess she attacked Lauren before they had the group meeting, the meeting with the EP that Lauren and Jess was talking about. That Lauren was talking to Jess about.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you that part.
She said that her and Lauren did speak, and they have had conversations. But I think the thing is, all right. So I'm kind of torn because she said Envy said that she didn't come to them, come to him, her, like Charlamagne
Yeah.
and Envy about it.
Yeah.
She went to live. Like she should have at least took that step
I
first.
agree with that part.
And was like,
Yes.
"Yo, I am bothered by this."
Yeah.
And like things aren't being said to me.
Yeah.
Because he said that he repeatedly went to her and be like, "Are you comfortable? Are
Yeah.
you good? Are you good?" And she just kept saying yes, which is kind of fucked up because like if you aren't comfortable, you need to say that. I get your point. I get your point.
But her being a woman in a room full of men, and she still realized she's on the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
She may not have felt comfortable in that moment saying yes. And then something happened, and it snapped, and she went to live.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I'm with you, though. She
the
should've
live
talked to
part
them.
is just where I'm like, you should at
Yeah.
least talk. Like,
I'm with you.
Because talking to a bunch of people who can't do shit ain't gonna do shit.
She just wanted to vent. That's
I
all.
know, but
But you don't vent on live.
Yeah, you don't vent on live.
But I thought it sounded like there were conversations that were taking place before she went live.
That's how it sounded, but it sounded like she wasn't being fully honest in
Yes.
those conversations.
Okay.
Like these things were bothering her, but she wasn't saying how much.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kind of sounded like she was dropping little tiny nuggets that this was bothering me, hoping that they would be like, okay, well, here's what we want to tell you is happening.
Yeah.
And they never did that.
Yeah.
So she's like, look, y'all not telling me shit, so fuck this. I'm going to go air all my business out on live. But you don't, I mean, you got bosses. It sucks, but you got bosses. If you don't want the job, then just go ahead and quit. But this is a real easy way to get your ass fired.
I thought, did she get fired?
No.
Nah.
So, yeah, that was
Nah,
a
they kinda
misleading
screwed that.
They
headline
probably
there.
are enjoying this because it's bringing views.
Yeah. You can tell, 'cause even in the conversation, Charlamagne was joking around. Like, that's Charlamagne.
I
but
can't stand him.
I mean, he understood that, yeah, we about to go viral for this.
So,
Stupid ass.
okay, so I want to talk about the airing it out on live thing. They made it seem like they did that because she went live on wherever she was. Was it
Yes.
IG first?
They did.
And that's the only reason why they addressed it publicly in the manner that they did.
They did, but I could also see the wheels turning of like, oh, this is gonna like help us.
Yes.
Like
Absolutely.
So the Breakfast Club falling off.
the Breakfast Club been falling off.
yeah, the breakfast it isn't what it is. I still think it's the hip hop voice, radio voice. If there is one, I think radio is the issue more. Like I think there's still a radio format. Trying to transition to having clips on the internet. So I think that's the reason why it isn't what it once was. But I think there's still a presence from the Breakfast Club.
It's still
not as big.
relevant.
They're
It's
still
just-
relevant, but
yeah.
they're not the voice they used to be.
Joe Budden has
You know.
taken that.
Joe Budden is
Yes.
I was
Joe
gonna
Budden,
ask that.
absolutely.
and even from my demographic, which I hate, well, not even the white demographic that is adjacent to hip hop that don't really get hip hop. Academics is for them.
Yep.
So
Yep. Breakfast Club is no longer number one. They're just not. But I think they absolutely knew that this was going to help their show. Because otherwise, there was no reason to air this out online. The thing about it is, I think the worst thing that's ever happened for them is for their videos to be so popular. Because now I can see that Charlamagne just reads everything. Because he's always just looking at his laptop. And I'm like, you're reading what you're saying. So this was planned for you. So, like, during this conversation, like, even his little quips, like, bro, you're reading that shit. So, like, you knew this was going to happen. I'm not saying they scripted everything out, but I 100% think Charlamagne, like, writes down a few, like, notes of, okay, I'm going to say this at some point.
And
I'm
in the
gonna throw this
past,
out
he
there.
just kind of freestyled it.
I thought so, like, but I don't think he wants to do that anymore because, like Jalen said, maybe he wants to maintain that ad-friendly character.
Yep.
He can't go on there saying some of the wild shit he used to say. But while they're having a very serious conversation, these two women, he's making jokes. And Envy did try to tell him to stop.
Yeah.
He's like, this isn't funny. And even they were like, yo, it's not funny. This is like a serious conversation. But I'm sitting back as a viewer, even though I'm watching the shit, being like, well, then why are y'all putting this out in the public? Because none of us really need to see this.
I think because she went
She was live. Her
live,
shit. Right.
people would have been asking about it.
but it ain't their business.
And y'all could have easily just been like, hey, just so y'all know, yeah, Jess went live, but Jess and Lauren had a conversation behind the scenes.
Yep.
Ladies, are y'all good? Y'all straighten everything out?
Have them
Yeah,
talk.
we're
No,
good. Cool.
Yeah.
So now we know what this is. This is the format of the show, and that's it. They didn't have to do all of this.
When they released it, they did it as a part 1 and a part 2.
Exactly.
So they knew what they were doing. Like they
Yep.
knew exactly that, and I think that's why
Yep.
Charlamagne made jokes because it was tense. And so for him, it's like I still got to make the content sell in some aspect to make it like, you know what I'm saying? Make it
Yeah.
for those people who don't really care. They care about the conflict, but don't really care about the conflict.
Yeah.
Make this entertainment enough for them to stay here and watch this.
See, for me, and I'm not usually a drama guy or a mess guy, but the conversation that Lauren and Jess were having was interesting enough. I didn't need Charlamagne throwing stupid quips in. I didn't need that. I was more interested in like, okay, I understand why they're butting heads. This is Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. This is the way this is always going to work. This is two women,
And people gonna
and
put 'em against
they're
each
going to
other.
be put. And the thing that was aggravating me is Charlamagne. Oh, you got to stay out the comments. You got to stay off the internet. One, you're a fucking liar because I know goddamn well you read the comments too. But two, it wasn't the comments that did this. It was your boss. It was your bosses that did this.
Jess said they were reinforcing what she already felt. Like it's
Yes.
just like it's not like she doesn't feel this way. It's not just the comments. I feel
Yes.
this way too.
Yeah. You're a woman on a show, and there's another woman, another pretty woman that you feel like is taking your place. And as a woman in this industry, you know there's only room for so many of you. So I get why she's threatened. What I don't get is why, when she said that they didn't have her back, I knew what she meant. You know, even though Envy took it some other kind of way, but I knew what she meant. She's like, I have this job. Y'all chose me to have this job. And y'all sat back and let this other woman come in and take my job. Why didn't y'all have my back? And it sucks that they didn't really answer that part of the question. Instead, it was mostly just Jess Hilarious arguing with Lauren. When they are not the problem. The problem is above them.
Yep.
Why weren't the producers in that room being like, hey, we dropped the ball. We should have rearranged the show. Why didn't y'all do any of that shit? Y'all, I don't know. It seems like it goes past drama. It seems like this is just a weird, I don't know.
I was trying to figure out why the hell Envy got so upset.
Because he said that because he's sensitive. He
sensitive.
said that like when she came back, he was the one that was like, you know,
making sure she was straight.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
How was your
checking in.
maternity? How's your baby?
Yeah.
But then she said, well, y'all didn't have my back. So he took offense to that.
Okay.
Because in his brain, he probably didn't even know there was an issue. Now, this could be just me being a naive viewer. But just from watching, I can kind of take what Envy's saying as face value. I don't know that he knew there was a problem. But I guarantee you the people above them knew what they were doing when they were positioning Lauren to take Jess's spot. Because I did watch a couple episodes, so I know what you're talking about. She can't read well. She's kind of like on some like borderline Floyd Mayweather type shit. And they make fun of her about it.
Wow.
So that's probably, even though she laughs it off, if she really can't read well in real life, that might be embarrassing. That might secretly hurt her feelings a little bit. And now you're bringing in this other person who, because she can read well, she's going to be perceived as smarter than you.
Yeah.
And
she just
there might
had
be
the
a
journal-
prettier
she's-
thing and
It could
all
be.
that.
But the journalist, like she's a journalist. Like she
Right.
really does. She has been doing this, so it makes sense for her to be able to, like she cite her, like I have a source. Like she'll be like, I reached out to such and such. So she's doing the background work that Jess doesn't care to do.
Okay. Because when you were mentioning that, I was like, well, reading is reading. So I was like, if Jess is reading the same thing that Lauren would have been reading, then how would it have been different?
Because Jess can't, like I said, I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of her at all. I don't know what her education level is. It's none of my business. I'm really not trying to clown her or call her stupid. But she does not read well. When you hand her something, she's mispronouncing half the words and she's fumbling around and it just doesn't come off well. But she, like she said, that's not what y'all chose for me to do.
No,
Y'all didn't tell me to do that.
one thing you did say, Mike, you did say that for you, it was just like you were good with just having the conversation between Jess and Lauren.
Yeah, most people don't care about that.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Right.
That's the part that they realize their demographic that they're trying to tap into. They want the drama. They want the action. They want somebody to poke the bear. They want somebody
Right.
to continue to push and edge it on. So, yeah, they knew what the audience wanted, and that's why they did it the way they did it.
I felt bad for both of them, honestly.
The women, oh yeah,
Yeah, because
I've heard commentary that's like, "This is why you can't have two women in the
See?
workplace." And I'm
Exactly.
like, bro, this is
Exactly.
not it. Like y'all
No.
missed the point. It's just the leadership. Men aren't doing the job they need to do, and then now you're rolling the ball down to women to make them look crazy. When in actuality, if y'all probably had a conversation, well, hey, we're gonna transition Lauren into doing this part, and Jess, you continue to do this part, and let her know that's what it is, as compared to just doing it.
Yep.
It probably would have went a whole lot easier.
And to be fair, we don't even know if it's just dudes, because unfortunately, women take on, when you get that kind of power role,
Yeah, they
you
don't
take
wanna
on that
leave their
patriarchal
position.
spot too, and you're like, oh, this is great. We can pit these two women against each other,
Yeah.
and it'll be fucking wild for the viewers because they know that their viewership is dropping.
Yeah.
You know, but it just seemed very, very, very unfair. And again, if I'm looking at this from the naive viewer and I'm taking everything at face value, it looked like this shit is real. It looked like Jess was really upset, and it looked like Lauren really felt like she was just caught off guard and was just like, I didn't know that you had this problem, because she's like, I've come and I've told you before, if there's any issues, I would never take it to live, which I've told all of y'all that. I would never do no shit like that, ever. Go on a live or a video and be like, man, I can't stand the way Rod be talking, bruh. Sometimes I just want Rod to shut up. I would never do that. That's wild. But Jess did that for a reason. I feel like she did that because she felt like, one, she had ran out of options, even if that's not 100% the case. She felt that way. And two, this is her comfort space. Is live,
She's
going
a
on
social media
live. She's a
person.
social media person. So this is what you get when you hire someone like that, and then you do them wrong. You get what you get.
So it's gonna be 4 of them now.
They said no.
So I think what they're just gonna do is have Lauren come and deliver the news, so Jess can just commentate on it with them, as compared to having Jess deliver the news. And that'd be, Lauren is just a senior news producer, so that'd be, what's the news, what's trending, let's talk about it, and then Lauren goes back and then they can do the segments with the listeners and all that. But Lauren will just be there for when they're doing trending topics.
So if they're going to do that, they need to be very clear, because when I'm watching it, I can see exactly what the issue is. Jess, when she kept saying she overtalks me, She overtalks me over and over again.
Yep.
Clearly, Jess feels like her opinion is being devalued and that they have now pulled in another person to replace her opinion. So they need to iron that part out. If Lauren is just going to deliver the news, then she needs to remove her opinion from it and let Jess have that part.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're even thinking about it that way because this is the most pub they've gotten in a minute.
Right.
So I think they're just going to ride off this, and they probably are going to continue to have these kind of small issues. But the Breakfast Club has been a mess for a minute. And I think even with all of the Angela Yee shit, they just never handled any of that stuff right. When it comes to the women on that show, they don't know how to handle this stuff. Y'all came in there and you let, was it Gucci or Boosie, one of them, come in there talking about they fucked her and all this other shit. And y'all are laughing. Like, that shit's not funny. You ain't got to check Gucci because you can't. There's no place in the universe where you can check Gucci Mane. Yeah. But you don't have to laugh and you can be like, all right, bro, let's move on to the next. We're not going to talk about that. But shit like that, like, and you wonder why Angela Yee left. Then you bring on another woman and then you're fostering these women fighting with each other. It's just like, bro, what are y'all doing over there? Like, as much as I think that, you know, Ebro and them are not great either. I don't really watch that shit either. I don't see Laura Stiles having them problems, you know? And there's other women that will come in every once in a while, but Scotty Beam had some of those problems, if I remember correctly. So it's like, I think it's just an issue with these male-centric shows and organizations. They don't know how to deal with, like, women being on the show and not othering them immediately.
I see Melissa Ford having the same issue eventually.
100%. Eventually.
Yeah, some of her clips are
I've seen that already.
Go out.
No,
she's
I'm saying
arguing
where she's going to actually, like, just leave. Would be done with it. Because, yeah, there's a lot of times they gang up on her, and I'm like, no, she's making a valid point.
Yeah,
now, she has got caught in some lies now. I do give
Did her and Joe, a clip of her and Joe Budden, it was like 10 minutes. I didn't watch the whole thing, but her and Joe Budden was going back and forth about something.
I think that happens regularly.
Yeah, it does. To Joe, that is good content.
Right.
He thinks that is the way content should happen, is people arguing and yelling. Like, he gets to a point where he's yelling and doing that.
And for his show, he's right.
Yeah.
Their audience loves that shit.
Yeah. Only time he can make engaging content is like when the beef was going on. And he gives more of the rapper brain kind of intake. But other than that, it's like, I need to find a reason to yell and disagree with
That's what I was
everybody.
going to ask. Like, so that's how he replaced them, because of those particular antics that the I guess back and forth that they have arguing with each other.
I don't watch much Joe Budden because, I mean, it's nothing against their show. It's just not my kind of thing. But I've seen some episodes where it'll be the light-skinned guy, the kind of bigger light-skinned guy. Ish. And Joe Budden will be fucking like old school Little B review screaming. And it's like, how do y'all have 10, 12, 15 of these? How do you have that many of these interactions and y'all keep promoting them? Like, I don't want it's not fake, I assume, but it's like, how do y'all fight like that?
I think it's also a New York thing. You know, they different. Thing? Like, being up north, they different. Like New York, New Jersey, niggas argue like that. Because I remember people talking about the Flip and Joe Budden argument.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And people from New York were like, they ain't arguing. This is just normal talking.
No, I get all that. Because like I said, like I've told y'all before, that's how me and my friends argue. Not even argue. That's how me and my friends just like converse about certain shit we disagree on. And then 2 seconds later, it's like, all right, cool. Let's go get some food. It's not a big deal. But some of those ones that I've seen between Ish and Joe, that seemed like a big deal. Because Joe, one of them I was watching, he threw his headset off and jumped up and like stormed out of the room and then came back and was yelling again. I was like, that's not just like, I don't know if that's just New York shit.
But they've been friends for like 20 years though.
I feel that, but I've never like. Okay, never mind. You know, I'm putting myself into it. That's not fair. Yeah. I get you. I get you.
That's just how their dynamic is.
I get you, but as a viewer watching that, I'm just like, man. And look, my thing is always this: as long as y'all are cool at the end of the video, then everything is good to me. I'm not gonna go in the comments like y'all hate each other. I secretly think you hate. I don't think they do, but it's just like when y'all foster that kind of environment. And then you bring a woman in there, and she's the only woman in the entire room. I imagine that's probably a little bit uncomfortable. Wouldn't you?
Maybe, but I also think Melissa Ford has been in the hip hop industry as a video.
So she's seen all.
She's
this
probably
before.
been
Facts.
around it for a while. That it probably fits where like I've seen men act stupid in front of me my whole career. So.
Typically, if I watch a video, she's the one that I agree with the most.
Yeah,
and they do gang up, especially if it's like a serious socially kind of topic.
Mm-hmm.
They do gang up on her and they kind of like drown her voice out, which is the exact same shit that Charlamagne and Envy used to do to Yee. So it's like I can't watch this shit because I'm like, yo, give her a chance to speak because what she's saying is actually making sense. But since y'all are yelling at her while she's trying to explain it, you're discombobulating her and her point is getting confused.
Yeah.
But she had a good point, you know.
It's better on Wednesdays. They got Mark Lamont Hill on Wednesdays.
I've watched a few because I mean
It's
all I see
better.
are the clips.
Yeah.
So I've watched a few with Mark Lamont Hill, and I'm actually surprised he's even on this show. But I do enjoy him being there because he brings a level of, I don't want to say intelligence because I don't think anybody there is dumb, but he brings this level of.
He's a more educated background.
That's like saying intelligence though. It's
More,
like
you could be more educated. No, I mean,
I don't know a nice way to say it, but yeah,
I don't
when
know
he's
either.
there, I'm like, y'all are making sense now because he's guiding the conversation, you know. But like when it's not him there and it's just them and anything serious is being discussed, I'm like, nope, I can't do this. Talk about Kendrick and Drake. Talk about is Playboy Cardi album good? Talk about that because that's gonna be entertaining to me. But I don't want to hear y'all talking about, you know, an R. Kelly case or a Diddy case or should the community turn on Ye for wearing swastikas. I don't want to hear y'all talking about that.
Well, the issue they're gonna have is that the ratings may be up because of this, and people may stay around to see the dynamic.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
It's temporary.
but yeah, exactly. It's gonna fade out. So then they're gonna have to maybe try to manufacture something else. But I don't